Hey everybody, welcome back to Q Branch Woodworks. I'm Brad, and today I'm going to be turning a Rose Engine walnut bowl. Now this will be one of the larger pieces that I've ever turned on the MDF Rose Engine, so the standard procedure here, as always, just to get things round and balanced. I make a quick facing cut here just to get the blank fully balanced, and then we can start to make some decisions about the form on the outside of this bowl. Here I use my dividers to establish where the mortise will be for this piece. I've decided I'm going to use a foot with a hidden mortise on the inside to hold this piece when I flip it back around. Now that I've established the mortise on the inside, what I need to figure out is exactly how wide I'd like the foot to be. So as you can see right here, I'm just backing off the corner a little bit to remove some mass and try to get a feel for what the outside of this bowl is actually going to look like. As I'm figuring out where the outside of the foot is going to be, I make sure that the outside of the foot will not be as tall as the mortise is deep. That makes sure that when I'm holding the inside of the mortise using my chuck jaws later, that I get the support of the entire bottom of the bowl and not just the width of the foot. Because I know that this bowl is going to go on the Rose Engine later, I've decided to make the outside shape as straight as possible. That way I can use the sliding XY table on my Rose Engine to get equal measurements to make sure that each stack of the pattern that I'm planning to use later is exactly the same. This is much easier than trying to get equal spacing around a curve, especially a curve that isn't a perfect hemisphere. I don't know about you all, but I wasn't that good at math when I was doing it every day in school, so I figure I'll just try to keep things nice and simple for this bowl. Here I'm rebating the foot slightly, and this is more of a stylistic choice. Since I'm using the mortise in the middle, I'm not worried about this bowl deforming and rocking all that much, but I think that this lightens the form overall when you flip it over to look at it. I've also decided here to undercut the foot slightly, that is, to have it curve slightly inwards as you look at it from the side. It's a very simple cut, but I think that it adds a lot to the look and feel of the bowl. As always, we want to do some kind of decoration to the bottom of our bowl, so here I'm just rolling a couple of beads in with a 3/8 spindle gouge. Now that the outside of the bowl is finished, it's time to pop it off our regular lathe and get it on over to the MDF Rose Engine. I've decided on a 30 bump rosette for this pattern on this particular bowl. The main reason being that the amplitude, that is the distance between the peak and the valley of each bump on the rosette, isn't as great on the 30 bump rosette as it is on, say, the 12 or the 24. This means that I won't have to cut as deep in order to get the full pattern to show up. My strategy here is in between rows to phase the pattern by 50%. That is to make sure that the peak of one row of the pattern aligns perfectly with the valley of the next row of the pattern. And I'll just alternate these back and forth to get this sort of basket weave effect. Now as I start to move on to the last row here, and the last rotations in the last row, you can see that I slow down the rose engine significantly. What this does is it means that the wood is passing the cutter a lot more slowly, which means that I get an effectively higher rate of cuts per inch, or a better cut resolution, which means that the pattern stands out better and there are less obvious striations. Now that the rose engine pattern has been cut, it's time to pop it off the rose engine and get it back over to the regular lathe for finishing the inside. Now, after I rebaited the foot a little bit earlier, I thought that it was looking a little bit thin, but it's important to remember that the main power of your chucking point is in the width of the chucking point, not in the depth. Now I'm just taking a simple, slow facing cut to prepare for hollowing out the inside of the bowl. As you'll be able to hear for the remainder of this turn, the vibrations on these rose engine pieces get really weird. I try hard never to show you while sanding because I think it's boring, and this video is no exception. Now it's time to get this thing unmounted from the lathe and to put some finish on it. I'm deviating slightly from my usual preference. When I make these rose engine pieces, what I usually prefer to use is walrus oil, And I'm going back and I'm trying some of this tried and true Danish oil with the beeswax already in there in the hopes that I can get away with 1, maybe 2 coats instead of 3 or 4. I've decided to stop being as precious about wood that I have in my stash that has a significant figure. In the past, I've been mostly unwilling to put that kind of stuff on the Rose engine, but I think that here is a pretty good example that you can have an exceptional interior because of the grain and then a nice exterior because of something that you've done to the bowl. Here, as I start to dry it off, you can see just what a beaut this piece actually is. I got this piece from Derek over at Cali Hardwoods. Please feel free to look him up on Instagram. This guy has the goods when it comes to walnut. Overall, I'm quite happy with how this piece came out. I think that the outside shows nice structure and good evenness, and the inside does a good job of just highlighting what a beautiful piece of walnut this is. I'd just like to say thank you for watching if you made it this far in the video. My name's Brad, this is Q Branch Woodworks, and if you've enjoyed today's video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'll see you on the next one.